Hi, I'm Ben, and
I'm Matt. So this is our travel tip slash what not to bring video.
yeah, we're about like 3 hours away from flying back to Canada. We're currently in Paris, and we thought that we'd go over the things that we really did not need to bring, and were kind of annoying, and for me, they were kind of heavy. Actually, you have like an extra pound or two of stuff? No.
Well, I picked up the souvenir, so that made it heavier.
True, so you can get, oh yeah, you don't have your souvenir.
Oh,
like, get your iPad, because that's something. So we'll just
heavy.
get right to it. So we went during May 2019. So we went in the last half, so we went from the 17th to the 27th.
Yeah, today's the
today.
27th.
And so the reason I say that is like the weather. Obviously, if you're going in the winter, you're going to be bringing more. But I'll show you my bag in a second. Like, we brought fairly minimal clothing, and I think it worked for me.
I brought more clothes than you. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to just start saying things
Do
that
it.
I regret. This toque, because I'm in Canada and we call it toques for hats. This takes up a lot of space and doesn't compress because it's like cotton and everything. Really nice during the winter. Totally, and like, it's totally useless. I don't.
He wore it one time to show me what it looked like, and that was it.
And that, yeah, no. So
it was very lovely, to be fair.
yes, wonderful. But we totally didn't need it. So
we didn't.
I don't know why I say we, because you wouldn't be wearing it.
No.
You can't even wear it.
Well, I mean, it might almost fit. Maybe.
Either way, yeah, no, I did not need this. We were just getting out of winter, and I hadn't been wearing it for like about a day in Canada before we came. So I was assuming I'd need it for somewhere that's not Canada. Yeah, no.
We were wrong. Actually, that's sort of a nice thing, though, because it means we had nice weather.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of actually the nice weather, when it wasn't nice, the rain,
goodness,
we
yes.
can skip right to that.
Right, so we had checked the weather before we left, and we saw, it's going to be nice, there's not going to be any rain, and so to save weight, we didn't pack any umbrellas. Like, we have, like, you know, like a waterproof shell. But
I do as well, yeah.
if you're traveling and you're walking and the rain is quite heavy, that shell is almost useless because it doesn't cover the rest of your body.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to buy an umbrella. And it's quite a nice umbrella now. It's from the Hofbrauhaus in Munich where we stayed, but it literally rained 23 millimeters of rain in a 24-hour period that we were there.
Yeah, we got drenched. So this is going to lead to something else too. But so my shoes are really nice, but I think I got blisters. They're a little bit older, and I got blisters. Don't know why. Maybe I'm silly. Didn't wear 2 pairs of socks. Apparently that's a thing that I learned that you can do. Kind of helped. But also this is full mesh, so I got drenched. So your shoes.
Yeah, my shoes, which are not meshy at all. They're like, I guess, like a suede leather type deal. These have been great, actually. I was expecting them to ruin my feet for like 10 days of walking around, and
I
honestly,
also expected that.
fantastic. They're nice and comfy, and they're good. So I had a good time, and my feet didn't get too wet. But those ones after Munich did get a little bit wet, and we did put our shoes in the dryer with all of our clothes twice.
Which leads us to, the first time was fine. We put it in, and I'm like, okay, wait. Make sure that it's on a low setting, because we were putting in our jackets as well, which is sensitive material, and our shoes, which have rubber in them.
Yeah.
And that was fine. Everything was good, and it took, I think it was like probably an hour and a half we left them in there. But it just
they were almost dry.
Yes, almost. And then the next day happened. Or was it the next day?
It was the same day. We met someone else who also had been soaked, and we said, well, hey, if you want to dry your clothes, we've got our clothes in the dryer, just throw it in.
Yeah.
And when we showed up, our things had been done, but they were still a bit wet. So
we threw them back in.
Yeah, we threw all the stuff back in, and we left, and our new friend came to put their stuff in, and we didn't check the dryer settings or mention.
Because there's one button, obviously it's different on everything.
In German.
And it said like
temperature.
Low temperature.
It was set to it defaults to maximum temperature. I don't know why. So
which is like about 400 degrees Celsius.
Well, let's just say it was in there for perhaps 10 minutes, and when we opened the door, we smelled burning rubber.
Which is my soles, along with maybe his shoes, which are the size smaller.
Yes, they got smaller. It took me about 2 days for them to start fitting my feet properly again.
But yeah, so my sole has shrunk. You can kind of see here, maybe.
Just shove it all the way in.
Yeah.
Send it.
Okay, either way, these shrunk like probably by an inch.
Which is amazing.
Oh my god. So yeah, it equals, actually I was thinking it was going to be more blisters. It wasn't too bad, but I'm going to probably need new soles in Canada, so.
That's true. Other things that we needed but we didn't bring.
Oh yeah, here. So, okay, the gimbal here.
We brought but we didn't need.
Yeah, so this is me, I was thinking I was going to do a lot more video stuff. And in reality, when I travel, I kind of like actually experiencing things. So it was fun to just take the camera out just to shoot photos. And that I can just have the camera and nothing else, no stabilizers or anything. This is probably like, I'm gonna say 2.5 pounds. What's your take?
Yeah, about 2.5. At least it's mostly balanced because of gimbal things, but yes.
Yeah, so
it's heavy.
It's just dense weight that I literally. There was one time I used it, but I could have just held the camera.
Yeah.
So
also, to be fair, the way we decided to travel was not helpful for using a gimbal because we were riding bikes and walking and using scooters.
Yeah.
If we'd been on like a tour bus or on like, you know, some other sort of transit where we weren't actually having to focus on where we were going, you could probably use that more.
Yeah. So it just didn't work for this one. So I guess just figure out what you want to do and what do you want to capture.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And be honest with yourself because it's nice to have when you're backpacking become broken spines.
And broken feet and knees and everything, and I'm sore.
Yeah, especially when it gets hotter out. Like when we got to Milan, that was a punishing, 3.5 kilometers from where we dropped off the car to the hostel.
Yeah, and funny thing, it's not even that hot because it's May.
Exactly, it was like 27 degrees, but when you've got like 25 pounds of backpack, you've been on the road all day, it's just the last straw, you know, and my back was destroyed. I'd been driving for 10 hours and then I had to carry my backpack. I was like...
Yeah, we drove through the Alps for 10 hours and it was just deadly. Then we stopped and had to walk. Well, we didn't have to walk, which actually kind of leads us to one more thing. Depending on the city that you're in, you can do micro transit options. So like the electric scooters that are infamous everywhere in the world now, in like major cities, etc. They are awesome.
They really are.
Like as much of a hindrance as they are to like locals, I think they're really a good way of like decongesting cities, and like they're so much fun. If you are judging the people on them, first just go check them out. They're so cool. Like just go ride. They're so much fun. They're like ridiculous.
No, they honestly like I was expecting them to be pretty lame. Like okay, fine, like I don't have to walk. At least that's nice. But no, they're like terrifyingly fun.
Yeah.
Because you have to watch, the wheels are so small because they're a scooter that you have to be like, okay, is that bump big enough to destroy my life or not? And Ben almost killed himself, was it 2 nights ago in Paris because of that.
I may or may not have been going like 25 kilometers an hour and there was a bump and this bump was like, I don't know.
I would say it was maybe like 2 phones high. Like,
yeah, but it was very like abrupt. It went boop, and so I just went flying. He was behind me on a bike because of reasons, and maybe this was one of the reasons. So yeah, bike shares actually are another thing that are really cool.
If you're in bigger cities, bike share is definitely a thing.
I like New York's city bike, and here Velib. Thanks, Frenchie. No. That also leads us to another thing of learn your languages where you're going or have a tour guide. But no, so with the bike shares, it was €5 for a bike share thing for 24 hours for each of us. And that gives unlimited 30-minute rides. And I don't know if it's the same with City Bike, but for Velib, it was nice because if you did go over by 30 minutes, it was about €1 per 30 minutes extra. Yeah, and that's good because we messed up at one point and paid an extra €3.
Which is fine. We were enjoying ourselves and we didn't realize, but...
Yeah, it's totally worth it. It's still way less than pretty much any other, like...
Oh yeah, for 24 hours with a transit, you can't beat that.
Yeah, and you get to kind of see the city in a different way.
That's right. Especially if they have good actual like cycle lanes and stuff. Like over here in Paris, even with construction, it's actually not too terrible. We enjoyed it. It wasn't like sketchy.
Yeah, and so finishing off my kind of bad decisions, there's like 3 main things for the video equipment that I brought. So the gimbal, didn't really need. The tripod, I did need, like it came in handy and it's super light. I'll put a link or something, but this is like my favorite tripod. Along with like my friend's tripods just for travel. It's super light, super convenient, and has professional features. Otherwise, I have a field recorder. I used it once because I could. Otherwise, I did not need to bring this. It's not like heavy or anything. It just takes up extra space that I don't need it.
Yeah,
I could use my phone.
You could.
It's not as high quality, but who cares? Anyway, so field mic, shotgun mic. This is the only time I'm using this.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we found a use for it. We're like, we have to use it before we leave, and ta-da!
Exactly. So there's that. My watery shoes. So maybe not mesh shoes. Learn the language, maybe, or again have the travel guide.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like at least one of them. Like we use French quite a bit since we've been here. You know, France and Belgium. Germany is sort of a wash because German Italian is closer to French, so you could probably hodgepodge your way through if you had like a working knowledge of French.
Yeah. And then the other things, so I chose to bring vintage lenses, which totally works.
Oh, they were great.
And they're actually really light. So I was taking them out here, and I was gonna say don't bring them, but this is a telephoto lens that goes ridiculously far. It's like a 70 to 210 mil. For anyone who knows what that means, who's watching. Otherwise, there's like a 50 nifty 50. 50 nifty.
50 nifties. I'll give you 50 nifties.
Nifty. Okay. So yeah, these are nice. They're really light. They took up a little space, and I didn't really use this one a lot, nor this one. I could have gotten away without. This one resulted in a cool shot. I don't know.
The other one too, you got the fancy, like, like blurry whatevers.
Yeah, it might have been worth it. Yeah. Okay. So I think these are like nice to haves.
Nice to have, not necessary, but if you have the space, it's worth bringing.
Yeah, and if I didn't have the other things, then these would have totally been like.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, because to be fair, when we started off the trip, you were still 5 pounds over me, so you were heavier than I was.
Yeah, which is still underweight because we did this with one bag each, one carry-on.
Yeah,
no
so
check,
one carry-on.
That would have been not good.
Oh my god. No, we couldn't have done that. Not the way we traveled, at least.
Yeah. Okay, so now for your stuff.
All right, cool. So my number one regret on this trip was entirely my fault, but I was so concerned about making sure we had all the other reservations, everything printed out, all of the other, I was being the mom of the trip at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, Ben, let's go on vacation. And Ben's like, yeah. And
then I was proceeding to do like all of the other stuff that I needed to do.
Exactly. So I took care of all the logistics. Yeah. And the one thing I didn't think of was, I was like, hey, I'm going to the airport, I'm going to ride the bus, I'm going to want to have some water with me. And I filled up my water bottle, but for those of you who don't know what my water bottle is...
I forgot where this is going. This is so funny.
This is my water bottle. I bought this, I don't know, 2 years ago. It has battle scars and I like it that way. But I believe it's 40 or 42 ounces. So I arrived at the airport in Montreal when we were leaving, having not drank any of the water on the bus ride at all. We walked all the way through the airport. We got checked in for the stuff. We walked into the security line. We walked all the way up to just before being scanned. We were like one corner away from like the queue, and then I realized
like 8 people.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. And Ren looks at me, he's like, oh, and I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you know what? We should be drinking. We can't, we have to empty the bottles. And we'd already passed the emptying point. So I proceeded to then chug the entire 40 ounces of water. Like completely chug.
At the time, I think I only had this much. So I had like, I don't know however many ounces, like 16. Meanwhile, he's like, just water falling in.
To like the last 30 seconds of me getting ready to go, I drank all of this before walking through security, and then proceeded to be like dead for like about 2 hours while we waited for the plane, just walking through the airport doing laps like ugh.
And then finally he went to the washroom and just there was a waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. They overflowed. Yeah, no, but that was my number one regret, which is a good thing because there could have been worse things.
It was instant, and it's also a very small thing relatively.
Well, exactly.
The other thing is at the airport you can dump it, but it's just kind of inconvenient for them and for you. Well, they have designated dumping zones. Don't be like us. Think and say, oh yes, I do have a lot of water, and I should probably get rid of it because they will detain me. Yeah.
So other than that, I regretted not bringing the umbrella, which we already touched on.
Yeah, there was the.
And then my iPad. Now, when we planned this trip, we saw there was a lot of rail journeys, and some of the rail journeys were over 6 hours. And so we were saying to ourselves, well, like we might get bored, like depending on where we're going, especially for like the night trains and stuff, or the really, really long train, there might not be anything to see.
I'm just gonna do this for a second.
Of course, yeah, I can disappear. So we bring the iPad, we can like play board games or something, and it was at least small and light and dense. You could fit a lot of stuff on it. Turns out we either looked at scenery out the train for the entire period of time, or tried to sleep for the entire period of time because of choices.
Yeah.
And things and hostel fun. So this was entirely. I haven't opened it since I left, and we were actually taking bets to see how much battery it would have had compared to how much it left when we started.
Yeah.
And
we even put a keyboard on that.
Yeah.
As in
there's a keyboard. It could have been for if we need to make reservations or type things or whatever.
Yeah.
And
clearly we can't use a screen for that.
No, but sometimes it's nice to have something bigger. Obviously.
Oh no, I know. It's just because we thought we were going to use it way more. Like I'm one for like minimalizing, but I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense because we will probably end up using it.
We never even touched it. I mean, today's the first time I've taken it out of my backpack since I left home.
Yeah, went down from like Yeah, again, you're taking bets for the battery life. It went from like what
70% to 60%, which is fine. I mean, for 10 days of not touching it,
Yeah, exactly.
not terrible. Considering it's an iPad 2, so it's like what?
It's old.
Old.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know how old it is, but it's very
I think
old.
2012. I don't know.
I don't know. For an electronic, that's like a dinosaur.
I think it's the only Apple product either of us own. So
Yes.
just that. What was that?
Other than that, I mean, things that would have been nice to have was a jacket with pockets. Now, when I say that, I had a vest, which was very nice because I used it for layering, but it had no sleeves and it had pockets. And my other option was my lovely, like, cycling jacket, which is wonderful and waterproof, but has no pockets except for one in the back. And when we're talking about like pickpocket deterrence, you don't want to have all your stuff like in a bulge on your spine.
Oh yeah, speaking of pickpocketing, so I have an f-stop bag, which is actually kind of nice. I was just gonna pull up my jacket, but you mentioned that. So this is nice. So you put it on this way, and very minimal stuff goes in the top, and most of the stuff goes in here. So this is how you open it.
There's
so.
a zippered pocket on the inside, so I can't access from here. Like I can open this, but there's nothing here. If I try to cut through it, it's actually solid, so there's nothing for me to get at. Which is fantastic for traveling. Not that we felt unsafe really on this trip, and we haven't been pickpocketed as far as we know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wait, where did my stuff? No.
Yes.
Oh shit. So it's nice. Here's the thing though. So the other thing is people can slap, I've heard of this especially in Thailand and stuff, people, especially with purses, have had like their things slashed and then they just get taken. So one guy slashes the purse and then the next guy grabs the purse, and so you don't have a purse. We don't have purses, but we do have backpacks. And the other thing is, so people could. So the other thing is, if you have, one of my like favorite things, totally the opposite of a regret, is having the waist strap. One, makes you look fat. Two, it takes all the weight off of like your shoulders.
Yes.
So for me, it's really nice. You haven't died though.
I haven't died. No, my backpack's alright. It's passable.
Yeah, so that's me. But here's the other thing. No matter how fancy your backpack is, they can just hold a knife to you or a gun and be like, give me everything. And you, what are you gonna do? Not give it to them? So just be aware of that. You can't be invincible. Like your backpack can be awesome, but you can still just have it taken. Like
Tell that to Chuck Norris.
point proven here.
Okay, so moving on.
Yeah.
What's the number one thing that you enjoy bringing for this trip?
I think I do like that backpack. Back to, I guess, the jackets real quick. I liked having pockets. And
Yeah,
this
that was
one,
nice.
so this is just a Patagonia jacket that's like DWR coated or whatever you call it. It did a pretty good job. I didn't get wet in it, but I think, yeah, I need to figure out a better solution for my shoes, because those just soaked like four different times.
4 different times his shoes were soaking.
Yeah, so I think that's, I don't know how once I figure out a solution, it'll be a regret. Otherwise, it's just a thing that happens. Yeah.
So traveler tips. One thing that you need 100% is either earplugs or in-ear headphones, because when you're traveling on a plane or a bus or a train, people will make noise. When we were on our way from Milan to Paris, there was a small child, and it wasn't even like a baby who was crying. It was a small child who was screaming, and his parents weren't doing anything about it, and that was pretty brutal, I think, especially for Ben, because he had earplugs, but they're not 100% noise canceling because, safety. Whereas my headphones, I can't hear anything, even if there's no music playing through it. So that's the number one thing that I would bring.
Plus, he's a deep sleeper. That helps.
That does help.
Be a deep sleeper.
Yes.
That's our tip.
Yeah, fix that. Be a deep sleeper. Don't bring anything. Just like instant sleep.
Yeah,
Another thing, an eye mask. That's nice to have, because if you're trying to sleep during the day or any other time and you just don't want to see people, if they turn the lights on and off on the night train, that's really annoying.
Yeah, I often don't want to see him, so I just put it on all
That's
the time.
right. I mean, to be fair, 10 days together, it's like, get out of my face.
Yeah. So that is in the specific order, though. Number one thing, I think, is earplugs/earbuds, because you can always improvise with your eyes, but there's pretty much no other solution for like a good seal.
You could like cut them off.
Yeah, just jam pencils in your ear.
Yeah, exactly. Done.
Yeah, now you're good for life. But what I was going to get at, so if you don't have an eye mask or something...
and you have a jacket with sleeves like I did not.
Yeah, so you can do this, or a sweater or anything like that. You just do this, and I've literally had sleeps like this.
I've seen him, and it looks very elegant.
It's definitely super elegant, but yeah, if you're lacking an eye mask, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I didn't do it on this trip because I brought one.
Yeah.
And
But
just,
also, like, you might get them on the plane. Actually, that blue one came on the plane on our trip, and we're flying like El Cheapo Air, so you might get lucky if you're flying from North America or somewhere abroad to Europe, and they might give you an eye mask. The number 3 listed thing I would bring for traveling is some sort of blanket. It could be an actual blanket. It could be a jacket. That's something you can just throw over yourself when you're sleeping. Because it depends on the kind of person you are, but I like to be warm when I sleep.
Yeah.
And so you sort of cuddle up, especially when you're sitting vertically in a chair. It just gives you a little extra bit of comfort, and then you can tuck everything in, and then you stay there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would have helped me for like my neck and stuff. I suck at sleeping on public transport, but for me, I just put my jacket inside like backwards, and I just did this, and it just kept my arms warm because this is the only long sleeve thing I brought. Again, we're in May. I was fine without a blanket, but I could have used the blanket just for my neck, etc.
Yes.
But I potentially would have overheated with the blanket. So leftover, I think you covered your umbrella, the jackets with pockets, the iPad, or you didn't need
the lack thereof. Yeah.
So here was my thought. I guess I was hesitant with the iPad, but I was like, yeah, go for it because we'll probably be bored. But I think we had shareable games on there too.
Yes.
Because the idea was to like meet people. But what we found, at least what I found, is that we met a lot of people at hostels, but not on the trains.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Nobody talks to anybody on the train. It's sort of just like nobody talks to anybody anywhere anymore at all for no reason. So
yeah. So at hostels, you're kind of forced to, in a good way.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like you meet people, and some people are friendly, and other people you say hi to them, and all of a sudden they start talking to you, and that's how we had some good adventures.
Yeah.
And then we met some cool people, and that sort of snowballs because more than one person, you're talking to one person, and then someone walks by and says, "Oh, well, these people seem friendly. We'll all talk together," and then that devolves into playing beer pong and drinking games and whatever else until.
Not that this happened or anything. No, but we had so many people. Like it went from
the two of us and
to three,
and then 4, and then
we got like a bottle of wine from another store, and then we were in the kitchen trying to like, oh my god,
that's a whole story.
Then that was 4, and then other people saw that there was 4 people hanging out, and then there was 5.
And 5, and then 6, and then another guy invited us to come play beer pong, and then so we brought everyone over to play beer pong.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic night, and it's kind of fun because we weren't sure, because the first hostel we went to was nice, but there was only 2 people in the room, and you like some of the rooms when there's a lot of people, you meet more people, you have like a better chance. Some people, honestly, we had 1 person in our room, 2 people in our room that we talked to, but we met them outside the room.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, and then. That's how it sort of happened. Okay, so finishing off.
So we went through earplugs and eye mask and blanket and battery. Oh yeah, I'll go over that. But first, sunscreen. So funny, it's yours. You brought it.
Yes.
We could get a smaller one, but this was good.
It was already partly used.
Yeah, so it's about this much weight of this. So it just took up space. I ended up using it for 2 days, very minimally, just for the back of my neck and stuff, like yesterday and the day before in Paris. And I think it's probably a good thing to bring, because being a lobster sucks.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, mostly because lobsters, boil. Good.
And also they have claws and stuff. I mean, have you ever tried to operate a cell phone with claws? It's just really impractical.
Yeah. Capacitive stuff, yeah. Okay, so the other thing, I just dropped this earlier. Where'd it go?
Where did it go? Oh, there.
Right, this. So battery bank. You don't have one, but your phone's not trash, so that. Actually, you know what? Okay, my phone's not even going that much down when it's just on. But when my phone's doing all the GPS and it's connected to data and doing everything, your battery just drains a ton, especially because you're moving around.
Because we bought a SIM card, not that we need one, but it came in handy sometimes, but I would say it's a nice to have, not a necessity.
Yeah.
And also we got one with 4 gigs because that was the only one they had available, and I don't think we've tried, but we haven't actually managed to go through it because we're not on our phones that often. It's mostly for navigation.
Yeah, like maybe I'll have to download a bunch of stuff before leaving, but like we're at like 1 gig. Maybe by the end of today it'll be 1.5 gigs.
Maybe.
We tried. We've been, again, 10 days, so like 8 or 9 days
exactly.
with data.
And we have to check out of this hostel in literally 10 minutes.
Yep, so that's that. And we'll probably use another 100 megs to get to the whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, I'd say 2 gigs if you're really burning it. If you want to be very conservative, just like 1 gig.
Yeah.
Or even less.
To be fair, in Europe it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's really cheap. Like we overpaid, I think, a little bit, but it was a pay as you go. So.
Yeah. No, we were. I knew it because I'm like, okay, this should probably be like, I just want 2 gigs, not 4 gigs. Like I knew it at the time, but we were
it was the first day we arrived. We were time crunch, and we need to have the data for something.
So typical tourists, we helped the local economy.
Yes. Support local business owners.
Yeah. So while your data and everything, GPS is running and blah, 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 battery bank. this is your lifesaver because some of the trains and some of the transit that you'll be on don't have plugs, which
right.
you shouldn't rely on anyway.
Yeah.
So this is like a 10,000 milliamp hour. So I would say probably 8,000 because I've used it so much and it's degraded. But it charged my phone up a few times. You've charged your phone occasionally on it, and it just
It
at
comes
least
in handy,
one per like whatever size group you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for
very
emergencies. That way your phone doesn't die and it doesn't leave you stranded. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need your phone to get around, but it's sort of like everyone is so used to having their phone that when it dies, it gives you that extra level of stress that is unnecessary while you're traveling.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a necessity, especially like if you're using the apps like Scooter. If you have like 4 kilometers to go with the scooters or something, instead of like walking with your heavy bags, then it's almost a necessity because you need to scan the
That's
stuff
right.
and blah 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 to use
That's
those.
true. That's the one downfall of those scooters. Like, you have to have a data connection and you have to have like a charged phone.
Yeah. So with those scooters, other thing you can do is you can fit 2 people on. It's sketchy, but you can do it. And
well,
to
it's
do that-
sketchy when we have 2 people and backpacks. I've seen lots of people do it without backpacks, and that's fine.
Oh yeah, no. Like we've seen, like I think 1 every 5 people are just a couple on scooters. We're not a couple on scooters, but we're a couple of morons on scooters. So you can put these on the handlebars because otherwise it's like too much.
Yeah. But if you're on it alone, do not put your bag on the handlebars.
You will flip like I almost did.
It's just really unstable because you got all that weight that you got to swing around.
Yeah. Swing me right round, right round. Okay.
Oh god. Okay.
Okay. The other thing is whether or not you have data. I would say download the offline maps.
Yes.
Like while you're on Wi-Fi somewhere, either before you leave, preferably, or at a hostel after you've somehow, without offline maps, gotten to there. Download offline maps on Google Maps because then no matter if you're using data or not, you don't use as much data or you don't need the data.
That's right. And like I downloaded the offline maps. I didn't have a SIM card for the trip. And it only gives you like driving directions, but you can still figure out where you are, right? And it's actually quite detailed. You can even search up restaurants and things. They won't give you any of the reviews or anything, but you can go there.
Yeah, exactly. Again, the walking and biking directions don't show up, which is annoying, but you can get the general gist and be like, cool, this is the driving path. I guess I'll just walk around.
Exactly.
It saves you. Otherwise, you just don't have the map.
Yeah, because you gotta bring a paper map, and it's hard to get a paper map now.
Yeah. As for chargers, I had something super. Oh yeah, I had this.
Oh yeah.
I just had this, so just this got me through the whole trip.
Yeah.
Just a cheap one.
Well, to be fair, because we're only in continental Europe, and it's got one plug, one kind. Everywhere we've been to has had the one European plug, which is just 2 prongs, like so. But if we were, say, in the UK, then you would have to have something like this, which is different. So we weren't sure. I think. Well, I mean, we looked it up, and I thought it was only gonna be the 2 prongs, but you never know.
Yeah.
So
no, it's
mine is a little bit bigger, but it's still fairly compact. It can plug any sort of Euro or North American outlet into any other outlet. So.
Yeah, it's just one of those universals. They're probably like $30 at Best Buy usually, or anywhere else.
Yeah.
They're good. If he didn't bring this, I probably would have just done that. The other thing is, as long as you have that backup battery, you can get to somewhere that sells these. So if you really forget these, then you can get a marked up one. They're probably gonna be like something.
Because if you're in a more modern hostel, you might be lucky and they'll have a USB port. Some of them have had USB port chargers as in addition to the wall ports, and same thing with some of the trains. But most of them are on the older side, and they just have wall sockets if you're lucky. Like this one is a very old hostel. It's very nice, but because it's very old, you've got one plug here, one plug next to the sink, and that's it. So you've got to have actual outlets.
Yeah.
And you got to plan your charging sometimes. I got lucky because my phone has quick charge, so very worst case scenario, like a half hour will get me an 80% charge, and I got away with that sometimes, especially without the data. I didn't need my battery that much, so I got away with it.
One thing totally not on my list, but the activewear. So these pants, they're somewhat water resistant for a bit, and then once you're actually like in the rain, they're not. Yeah. But they also dry out quickly. Along with this is not an activewear shirt. I have like 2 of the cotton shirts.
Yes.
But
don't mind me. I'm just packing.
Yeah, exactly. 3 minutes until we have to leave.
The activewear stuff. They charge us another day.
Yeah, hopefully not.
That's okay.
Hopefully, sorry. These dry really quickly, so they're great. For laundry too, you can do them, like wash them up, clean, done. Then the international driver's license.
Ooh, that was
so those are key if you're driving. Just make sure that you are aware of what you need. Also, just something, this didn't happen this time, but if you're gonna be driving like sometimes even a moped, but apparently
It depends. It depends.
It really depends on the country and like the authorities, etc. But a moped typically is fine without like an M license or like a motorcycle
That's
license.
right.
But if you're on anything over a certain amount of CC power, blah blah blah, you need an M license. You can't just say, "Oh, I have an international driver's license." I mean, my friend and I in Thailand got screwed over by that. But we didn't have any moped things here, so. Aside from that, if you're renting a car, you'll probably need one. Sometimes they require
some
that.
countries require it. Italy required it. That's why we were driving, so we did that.
So, yep, we both had one. I would have to check. He was going to be the primary driver. Check if they're expired. I still don't know if mine is.
There's no expiry date on them, so I'm not sure when they actually do expire, if they do expire.
Yeah, same. So, that. So, yeah, data, this, that. Oh, yeah, check the train amenities or like the bus amenities.
Yes.
And we already covered the micro-mobility.
We did. I also check the trains too, because we thought all the trains would be like the first one we rode, and it turns out the first one we rode was actually the nicest train we were on all trip.
Yeah.
So that was like, it was a surprise. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, the seats were really nice on that one.
Oh, everything about that train was nice.
Yeah.
One thing you notice though is like no matter the crappiest train you're possibly on, is actually like 300 times better than a North American train because it can travel at minimum 3 times the speed.
Yeah.
And that's really great. I really enjoyed that.
Going back to Canada, it's going to take me way long to get.
Well, it's going to take him 10 hours to do like 600 kilometers maybe.
Yeah, and we've done that in what, here?
Like 2.5 hours or 3 hours something.
Yeah.
And like I mean, to be fair, it took us, I don't even know what the distance is, but it's quite a great distance between Milan and Paris, and that took us like 7 hours.
Yeah.
Something like that. So.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
One thing to know is know your local fruits, because Ben's been eating like North American style fruits, which is fine. You know, apples and oranges and bananas and whatnot. And they do grow them here, so it's not like he's having them imported from across the sea. But like I've been having these. It's called a Nespole, and they're everywhere in Italy. And they're these little fruits. It's sort of a mix between an apple and an apricot, and they travel really well because they have a thicker skin that you peel off before you eat it. And they don't tend to bruise, and as long as you're not like squishing them, they don't also degrade. Like these ones are a few days old and they're still fine. Whereas if you got like a normal apricot or an apple, after a few days it might be like grainy or like a little bit less than tasty. Still edible, but these are really great.
Yeah. All of my fruits, like the bananas and the apples, they fare fairly well, and if they bruise up a bit, deal with it.
Yes.
Bananas, obviously not so much, but when you have the extra room, if I had a pack a little bit lighter, then I had a little compartment up here that was just kind of my thing, like just,
thing. It's his thing, y'all.
Just spare area for extra things that you acquire.
Why don't you just call it Asperia if it's a spare area?
It's Asperia. Boom, done. We're gonna put this in Urban Dictionary.
Yeah,
all right.
Boy.
Either way, you can see that we're kind of rushing.
Literally packing because now we have a minute and a half.
Yeah. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this.
Yes. One other thing we'll talk about maybe is you gotta go freestyle on this. Really quick. This is all the change that I accumulated over this trip, and European change is silly, and I think it's really silly because it's teeny tiny. Look, this is my finger, and this is the penny. So 1 cent, 2 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, €1, €2. Why so many? All of these up to about the €1 fall out of my wallet because they're too small, and the 50 is bigger than the 1. So I don't understand, and so it's the 5 is bigger than the 10, which is fine like Canada, and the 1s are microscopic, and the 2s are like the size of a 10, and it's really hard to feel them in your pocket, so just get familiar, I suppose.
Yeah.
And with that, here's Ben's socks.
Hey!
There's your face.
They're stretched.
There's your socks, there's your face.
Alright, well, hope you enjoyed, and hope this helped out. Matt, anything else?
Bye.